up, boys and girls? Welcome to General Hospital MV, my GH after show. We've got a lot to discuss this week, so let's just cut right to it. First off, I want to talk about Morgan's memorial. It has officially been a year since Morgan Corinthos has passed away, and we got the cutest, most adorablest scene between all of Morgan's siblings ever, with the exception of Christina. More on that a little bit later. I just thought it was really sweet to have them all in a scene together. It's very rare that we get to see them all in the same place at the same time. But we had Molly, we had Jocelyn, we had Michael, we had Dante, we had little Avery, and we had Kiki. All of them care about Morgan so much, and it was nice seeing them reminisce about the old times and even taking a selfie together. I just thought it was really sweet. Dante talking about how he and Morgan first met was pretty funny to me because he really romanticized it. He talked about how he was lost in the woods and Morgan helped him with his phone, but it was a bit more crazier than that. Dante actually grabbed Morgan as a hostage and Morgan bit his finger and pretty much just roasted Dante time and time again throughout that whole scene.
You're a pretty lame gangster.
Who said I was a gangster?
Well, you're sure not a Boy Scout.
Well, what can I say, kid? Trees and nature, they aren't my thing. Fortunately, most of my work is done in the city.
Morgan was played by a young man at that point, like just a little boy, and he was one of my favorite actors on the show too. That version of Morgan and Dante were probably the closest Morgan and Dante ever were. Dante and Morgan's bond was really interesting because Dante had yet to learn that he was Sunny's son, so it was cool to see. And I kind of wish that they carried their relationship into Brian Craig's version. However, we didn't really see them share scenes together. It really wasn't until Brian Craig's version of Morgan died that we got to see Dante truly be emotional about Morgan. And those scenes for Dante last year were probably some of the best work that Dominic has ever done. So I can only assume that it was those scenes with that young Morgan that he was thinking about. Alright, so the reason why Christina wasn't there is because she was with Parker. Parker and Christina decided to get their relationship back on track. Christina made the decision to drop out of school so that she and Parker could actually date. Parker was iffy about it, but also happy about it. Unfortunately for Parker, they were caught kissing in the classroom before Christina stopped being a student, and Parker got fired for it. Christina blamed Alexis for Parker's firing, even though Alexis clearly had nothing to do with it, and as an act of rebellion, Christina decided to move out of town with Parker. And yes, unfortunately that means that Lexi and I think her name is Ashley are both out of Port Charles as actresses as well. They are no longer on the show. If I'm being completely honest, I wasn't really a Parker and Christina fan. Don't get me wrong, I'm all for the LGBT getting their screen time on here, but their relationship just didn't really do anything for me. Just the story behind it was just a little, yeah, you know, predatory. But it still sucks. I know that they have their fan base and it's unfortunate. As it stands, we really have no K couples on our screen right now. Brad and Lucas are still in town apparently, but when's the last time we saw them? Just a little bit frustrating. Alright, now let's talk about Ava Jerome. Now she was about to check out of the hospital, but Laura stopped her so that she could confront her about what she did to basically piss on Nicholas's memory. Laura was not a happy camper. As if that wasn't bad enough, Ava decided to take it upon herself to go to Perks where she knew that Kiki would be with Avery, although she didn't know it was Morgan's memorial, so I'll give her that. But it definitely made for an awkward confrontation. Ava then goes back to her apartment and she seems to be getting a trip to Paris ready. But before she can even pack her things, Griffin shows up. He had just come from being confronted by someone that he worked with in the church, saying that he needs to go back. But Griffin, he is conflicted. He's not so sure if he wants to be a priest anymore. So poor conflicted Griffin goes to Ava for some advice, and she ain't having it. She calls him out on his BS, and then he rips her clothes off. Yep, Ava done made Griffin fall from grace. I mean, it was pretty hot. Like, Griffin, you know, is Griffin, and Ava's pretty, and they were banging, and they knocked some lamps over, and you know, he's probably really horny because he hasn't hooked up with anyone in forever. I just don't know how to feel about them as a couple. It's just very weird to me. It's not so much as calling that makes it weird for me. It's the fact that you got Ava Jerome, who is the sister of the man who killed his father, and putting a Jerome together with a Lavery is... it just bothers the long-time historian in me. I know because Griffin is a priest and he forgives everyone for their sins and yada yada yada. It's just really, it's territory that I don't like. It's just they're so wrong and I don't exactly hate it, but I strongly dislike it for the Duke reason. Alright, so let's go back to talking about Laura though for a second, because she goes to Kelly's and meets Kevin there. She's obviously very down over what she learned about Ava. Valentine is really messing up her world. and Kevin feels really bad for her, so he decides to propose to her. Laura sees it as bad timing. You know, she wants the proposal to be about them and not about trying to distract her from Valentine, which is totally fair. Me, you know I love Laura and Kevin. You guys know that I love Laura and Kevin, and I am totally down to see them get married one day. The only real issue I have is that most of the relationship happens off screen. That is a big issue of GH in general, is that a lot of stuff happens off screen and it's not fair. I just feel like I've missed so much with them, even though I haven't missed anything. Enough of this off-screen nonsense. Show us the meat and the potatoes of each story. That way, I can fully invest my time as a viewer into a couple or a character. It's not enough to hear them talk about things. It needs to happen in front of our eyes. Alright, now let's talk about Steve Burton, Patient 6, possibly Drew, possibly Jason. More than likely Jason, but I can't help but think in the back of my mind that they're still gonna pull a bait and switch with us. But the nice bartender lady who kind of reminds me of Aunt Ruby helped him out. When the two muscle guys showed up at the bar looking for Patient 6, she kept her mouth shut, saying that she hadn't seen him. Patient 6 thanked her, and then he left out the door, and then in walked Jason and Sam in the other door, literally a second later. My reaction looked a little something like this. Alright, now let's talk about why Jason and Sam are in New York. I guess Jason decided to buy Julie and Jerome's media company, and he had to go to New York with Sam to do so. Yet another very un-Jason thing for Jason to do. Super out of character for the guy. But you know, that little voice in my head, it's still there. So I'm paying attention. So they just happened to go to this bar to celebrate their new job. Though I would much rather see Sam and even Jason as PIs. Curtis is still doing his PI thing. He is trying to investigate whether Nell is guilty or innocent of Zach's death. He actually uncovers another lie that Nell has told. She had told the police that she is not a strong swimmer and that's why she couldn't save Zach. However, Curtis learned that she was actually the top of her class for swimming, so Nell is looking more sketch each day. Even Valentine Cassadine threw some judgments towards her, because you know, he smells like rose. Called her an opportunist, and she did take quite the opportunity when she seen him locking lips with someone that wasn't Nina. Cassandra has come into town to get Finn's help on the disease that she doesn't really have. She showed up in town a whole day early, which put Anna and Finn in an awkward situation where they had to pretend to be lovers. That ain't gonna backfire at all. So yes, that was a jam-packed week in Port Charles. I didn't hate it, and I hope you didn't hate this video either. If you liked it, give it a big old thumbs up, and you can subscribe to my channel if you want to. And speaking of subscribers, I hit 200 this week. So thank you for everyone that has been subscribed to my channel. I've been doing these GHNV videos for almost 2 years now, and most of you have come here for that, so I thank you from the bottom of my heart, and I will be continuing to make these videos for you guys. With that, I will catch you guys next week.